Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, entitled Sister-in-Law Wants Custody of My Baby. Background: me, 36 female, and sister-in-law who's 40. I've been married to her brother for over 10 years, and there's always been some jealousy and resentment from her. She's always felt like I had the life she wanted, not necessarily with her brother, but the marriage, family, job stability, etc. I have 3 kids who are 10, 8, and 3 months. She got married last year, and they decided to start trying for a baby, but she was unfortunately told that she can't have kids naturally. She was understandably devastated, and the family comforted her as best as we could. We recently had a family dinner, and in the middle of it she says, "OP, I think it's really unfair that you got to have 3 kids and I can't have any. Your baby is my last chance to raise a child, so I think you should give her to me during the week so I can create a motherly bond with her, and you can have her on weekends." Before I could respond, the entire table erupted, with everyone talking at once, so I took my older kids upstairs. When I got back to the dining room, her husband was asking what the heck is wrong with her, and why would you even think to ask that? She was trying to justify herself when I asked them to leave. I also said that she's no longer welcome at my house or around my kids until she gets help. She started screaming that I don't deserve my life or my kids and that I stole her baby from her. Her husband and mother-in-law kept apologizing and dragged her out of the house, still crying and screaming. Now my kids want to know why their aunt wants to take the baby. Edit. I've been reading the comments, but there's too many to reply, so here's a few points. 1. We have a security system and cameras already installed, and no one has keys to our house. 2. I will not be able to get a restraining order as this one incident isn't enough to justify it. 3. My husband and I spoke to the older kids about it the same night, and we'll be having another talk with them to reinforce that sister-in-law is not safe anymore. 4. Our country does not have the right to bear arms, and I also have no interest in getting one. 5. I'll be informing the school and daycare of the issue and giving them her photo. More on security. We already have a security system and cameras because there's been a trend of house break-ins in our area lately. No one has the code or keys to our house, not even the in-laws, so we're safe on that front. Unfortunately, a restraining order won't happen because it will take a lot more to justify it. Diagnosed as infertile after a year is pretty early. Is she sure she is? OP. She was having issues not related to trying to conceive, and the fertility issues were discovered in the course of trying to sort out the other issues. Her tubes are blocked, and although IVF may be an option, they're not in a position to do that now or in the near future. Was her husband aware she was going to try that? He wasn't. He actually called the next day to apologize again. He said he knew she was having a hard time accepting the infertility and they were looking into counseling for it. Update. So my sister-in-law has been admitted to a psychiatric facility. In the comments of my previous post, I mentioned that her husband was seeking out counseling for them to deal with the infertility. After the incident, he sought out a psychiatrist rather than a counselor, and they had their first session last week. I didn't get the specifics of what happened, but basically she made some statements that the psychiatrist felt indicated she was a danger to others, and she was placed under an involuntary hold. My brother-in-law has been nothing but apologetic though this entire time. Mother-in-law was staying with them to keep an eye on sister-in-law. She tried to leave the house in the middle of the night to go see her baby. Although brother-in-law found her researching how to induce lactation, and she said it was to make sure she can feed the baby properly when I come to my senses and give her up. From what brother-in-law has said, seeing me naturally feeding is apparently what triggered the entire episode. It was the first time sister-in-law was around the baby for any length of time, and she was holding her when she got fussy because she was hungry. Naturally, I took her to feed her, and this made sister-in-law feel inadequate because it triggered the thought that she would never be able to do that, which led to the events of the last post. I'm grateful for all the advice that was given to me, and some of it was really helpful. We won't be moving as it's not feasible for us at the moment, but we have taken extra steps with security, both at home and at the kids' school. This whole thing is taking a toll on my family, but mother-in-law, father-in-law, and brother-in-law are taking care of sister-in-law, and my husband and I are focused on ensuring the safety of our immediate family and minimizing the effect on our kids as much as we can. New update. I have not seen sister-in-law since the incident happened, and I also blocked her on my socials. My in-laws have been amazing through the entire situation and are not sharing any information about our family with her. Unfortunately, she still remains fixated on my baby. She tried to find out where the daycare is and even made threats. This led to another stint in the psych ward. She wrote a letter begging me to be fair and let her see her baby. I didn't actually receive the letter though. My mother-in-law read it and just gave us the gist of its contents. Sister-in-law's husband is working with her psychiatrist to see how best she can be helped, but he has said that he doesn't know how long he can deal with this, but he's giving it 6 months. It's a very sad situation for her, and I had hoped she would be able to deal with whatever is happening. At this point, we're completely no contact with her. We explained to our older kids that their aunt isn't well, so she won't be around anymore. We still see mother-in-law and father-in-law regularly, so I'm grateful we didn't have to cut them off. We spent the holidays with my family, and it was all very nice and uneventful. We're still on alert in case she shows up, but the hospital where she's warded isn't near us, and they don't live near us either. So we've accepted this is our new reality, and we're operating accordingly. So her husband will just leave and abandon her then? Have her committed? OP. Not everyone is equipped to help someone through a mental health crisis. I suggested a therapist to him because he's been very focused on her mental health, but hasn't considered his own. Hopefully, the therapist will help him deal with the situation. I don't think he's hard and fast with that timeline because he said it at a point of frustration. My best friend thinks I owe her everything I have, including my boyfriend. I know I should be careful calling someone best friend in a post like this, but I don't know how else to call Jessie. Our parents are great friends, so we grew up together, and she kind of had my back in high school. Long story short, on the teenager food chain, she was on top, and I should be on the bottom. But nobody messed with me because I was Jessie's friend. Jessie is one of those people who requires attention. I never minded though. Nobody's perfect, right? But now that I have my first real boyfriend, she doesn't know how to behave. Every time we're together, she is really handsy, always touching his arms, running fingers through his hair, complimenting him. And she even spanks him and says that it's a prank. I just feel really uncomfortable with it. Maybe it's normal. I mean, Jessie has a lot of guy friends, so maybe this is okay. My boyfriend never thought much of it either. Am I just overreacting? She is super pretty, so maybe I'm just jealous. Anyway, yesterday something really threw me off. Boyfriend had to do some work, and I had a book thing, my hobby. So we decided to meet later at a friend's house. They were getting together to drink and so on. Boyfriend finishes work early and calls me, but I don't really need him to come over to the book thing. I know he doesn't like it, so I just tell him to go to friend's house. Then I start getting texts from Jessie that are like, "Girl, you gotta come to this party now. Your boyfriend is wasted. Lol, we so drunk. You need to come and stop us. I can't behave myself if you don't get here soon," and so on. The book thing took longer than I thought, and I was just getting mad and madder. But I am very non-confrontational, so I deal with it. I call my boyfriend when it's over because I don't feel like going to this party anymore, but I was his ride, so I ask him if he needs me to pick him up. He says sure. I get there and I don't even go inside. I'm ready to release the hounds of heck on him. But he gets in my car and he is stone cold sober. I ask him if he was drinking, and then I show him Jessie's texts. He gets super upset and says that she was lying. He wasn't even hanging out directly with her, but catching up with a friend who just came back to town. He says I should have texted him, letting him know what she was saying so he could confront her about it, since you don't ever seem to be able to give that girl some boundaries, his words. Now I'm thinking maybe I should talk to Jessie, but maybe she was just drunk and annoying me because she wanted me there. I don't know. I mean, this girl was really nice to me growing up when she could have been a jerk. I don't like how she behaves around him, but at the same time, I don't want it to look like I don't trust her. Is there a polite way of going about it, or should I maybe wait and see if this happens again? Am I overreacting? Update. Last night we were alone because she wanted me to help her choose clothes for an event. I was at her place, so I thought I could say something. I wanted to. I was very polite and I just said that I knew she meant no harm, but I didn't feel good about it. So I asked her if she could tone it down. I should have said stop, but I guess I'm weak. She didn't really say anything mean, but her attitude was a bit off, I think. She was looking at me in a scornful kind of way, and the way she smiled once I was done talking, it just felt weird. She didn't say anything else but okay, and we just moved on to choosing her clothes and I left afterwards. We were supposed to go get something to eat, but she said that she was tired. I'm not dumb, she was hurt. So I texted a common friend, more her friend than mine, and without going into details, I just told him that I talked to Jessie about something that was important to me, but that I was afraid she may have gotten the wrong idea from it. The common friend said, "Look, I don't want to get involved. but you should watch it." I asked what he meant. He said, "Nothing, just watch it." A little while after that, he texts me back and says, "Changed my mind, I do want to get involved," and sends me a bunch of prints of texts going back and forth between him and Jessie. It basically starts with him asking her if the two of us had a fight, because I was worried. He was kind with his words. I don't mind him stepping in. And then just a non-stop stream of her being horrible. She says I had a big mouth and was judging her behavior because I'm a jerk who doesn't know how to be around guys. How she taught me everything I know about having a life, and how dare I tell her what she can or cannot do, or how I should thank her for even having a boyfriend at all. Common friend actually called her out for being rude and no friend of mine. After the prints, he told me, "I'm done with her, I give up, and you should watch it." He also said it was okay if I told her I had the prints. I didn't though, didn't know what to say. I mean, she's not 100% wrong, but even though I know that, it really hurts to read those. This morning I wake up and I see she texted me late at night. She says she knows Pete sent me those prints, and she didn't mean to be rude, but it's ridiculous that I'm jealous of her, because if she wanted my boyfriend, she could just have him. You want me to prove it? So I'm being silly and I should just drop it, is what she meant. She ends it with kisses and a joke. So I don't know if she was being playful, apologizing, threatening, or being pragmatical. I don't know what to say. Should I even say anything, or should I just let it go? I wish I could talk to someone about this, but I'm very private. I usually just go to Jessie with these things. Update 2. My boyfriend has been hooking up with her. A friend convinced some other friends to send me prints of texts between themselves and either my boyfriend or best friend. They're all pretty clear. I confronted my boyfriend. He looked lost, said he loves me, and they were just hooking up. He says Jessie kept throwing herself at him, teasing him, and he said he didn't like her, but I still wanted to hang. He said he just hooked up with her to see if she would move on and leave him alone, and that it only happened a couple of times. Says he won't do it anymore. He doesn't even like her. He loves me, asking me to please forgive him. From the text, once I finally made it through them all, I think that Jessie went to the party where me and boyfriend met because she wanted to hook up with him. She had it bad for him, but he didn't feel the same way. She was trying to get him to break up with me and then to get me to break up with him. It worked. As of yesterday, he is a single man. And some of those texts, they're talking about some of the hookups. I feel like throwing up. I blocked him because he was still trying to get in touch. I ghosted her, but she just sent me a message saying she just heard what happened and, "You know this was probably for the best, right?" And I feel like screaming. Update. Ex-boyfriend kept trying to get in touch through common friends. They kept asking me to unblock him and at least hear him out because he was really sorry. He loved me. He was a mess. He didn't mean to. Someone even went as far as to ask me if I was really sure it happened. They offered to send me prints of texts where he was talking about me, so I'd see how he always had great things to say and how much he cared. But I've had it with the print screen drama for life and said no. To the ones who insisted, I told them I wasn't unblocking him, had nothing to say or hear, and if they kept pushing me, I'd block them too. I ran into ex-boyfriend at the book thing I go to often, my hobby. Maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I think he went there just for me. He didn't really have any business there, but I'm just speculating really. He asked if I had a few minutes for coffee. I said I was late. He walked me to my car. He looked so good, smelled great. He was so sweet, was even wearing his hair the way I like it. I felt horrible because even after everything, I still like him. He apologized some more, said he knew I needed time and space, but asked if I'd consider giving him another chance because he would wait for me. Said he would never talk to Jessie again and would act like they had a restraining order against each other. And I just found it really funny how everything he was saying required me trusting him, which I don't. So I told him I wasn't interested anymore and he should move on. I wish I said something snappier or wittier, but I had nothing. That was Saturday. I haven't heard from him or friends since. I think that was that. Jessie also kept trying to talk to me. Like I told some of you in the comments, I had a trip coming up. It would have been me, Jessie, ex-boyfriend, and a few friends. Since Jessie couldn't afford it, my parents paid for most of her expenses. She must have remembered this right after everything went down and panicked because I had everything. Vouchers, confirmation emails, credit card info. She went crazy. Even showed up at my place. I wasn't home and my roommate told her to buzz off. I didn't block her at first because I admit I was having some fun watching her despair. I talked to my mom and she was amazing. Told me I should cancel everything even if it cost us money. It was fine. So I did. And for one last bit of print screen drama, I printed all of the emails I had confirming cancellations, and I sent them to Jessie with the word bye before blocking her. My roommate has been amazing. We were never really close, and now I don't even know why. She canceled plans with her friends to stay with me and invited me to go out with them next weekend. A few of you suggested I see a therapist, and I did yesterday. I really liked it. It was just one appointment, and I mostly just talked, but it felt good. She gave me homework. She talked a little about unhealthy and mistreating relationships and asked me to think about my friendship with Jessie and try to point what was healthy and what was unhealthy about it. Made me realize she was never really my friend in the first place. She was taking advantage of me for years, and she even had me thanking her for it. Therapist also told me about this saying, called the narcissist prayer, which goes something like this. That didn't happen. If it did, it wasn't my fault. If it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, then you deserved it. Which is totally how Jessie is handling this whole thing now. So good riddance indeed. And a final piece of gossip, Pete talked to me yesterday. He's checking up sometimes. He's a good guy. He said Jessie was super sure that since I broke things off, she and Dean would hook up right away. But apparently he doesn't have the same plans, and that freaked her out over the weekend. Pete says he is really a mess and went out drinking hard 4 nights in a row to the point he had to be carried home by his pals. And yesterday, they all went out for lunch at this burger place. Jessie was going to run her fingers through his hair or something, and he just pushed her away and told her to stop and to never do that to him again. Great that now he manages to do that, right? I guess in the end, he really did like me. The thing is, I don't want to be with someone who likes me in that way. I want to be with someone who likes me in a healthy way. I think I deserve that. I'm also thinking about taking the money I got back from the trip to go somewhere else by myself. I haven't decided though. Anyway, this will be the final update on this, since it's unlikely that I'll have anything new to add. Now, I just need time to heal and let go. My wife cheated and is now pregnant. I'm 34, male. My wife, Anna, who's 33, cheated on me. I don't know why. She says she doesn't know why either. Anytime I ask anything, it's just a river of tears. She says sorry and begs me to forgive her and forget it, but I can't. But leaving hasn't been easy either. We have 2 boys together. She's my high school sweetheart. Our families are longtime friends and are still tight with each other. They've all urged me to stay for the kids, to forgive her since it was one time, to not give up all the good because of one bad. But the worst part is she's pregnant. I found out about the pregnancy from my mother as I had her blocked and I wasn't living in the same house anymore. I demanded a paternity test. She readily agreed and swore she'd get rid of it if it wasn't mine. She's spoken horribly of her affair partner. But then, all she's done since getting caught, she didn't confess, is curse the guy and herself and cry. I'm waiting on the results. I'll divorce her anyway, but she says the baby is for sure mine, that she hooked up with him once, whereas we had hooked up plenty of times, pretty much every night for the duration of her affair. It lasted 2 months, I think. They met, talked, and hooked up only once, if I'm to believe her. I don't know why, but the idea of the kid being mine disgusts me. It feels like she couldn't commit to anything, not to me, nor the other guy. Why was she cheating if I was taking care of her? How is it that she wanted to talk about her feelings with some random guy, but not me? How was she sharing her deepest thoughts and feelings with this guy and being with me at once? How does that even work? I've always thought cheating was because you weren't being fulfilled by your partner at home. I've read all of these stories of wives leaving their kids, denying affection to their husbands, making jokes at the husband's expense, ruining the men financially, etc. She's done nothing of that sort. She's still the best mother I could ever have hoped for my sons. They love her more than they love me, I know. She was still the same loving and giving woman I fell for while she was being with the other guy. I saw her texts, the one she hadn't deleted, and every other text is, I love my husband. I don't understand. I can't make heads or tails of the situation. If I did give her a baby, am I expected to forget and move back in? What if I can't do that? It's easy hating the kid now because it might be her affair partner's. But what if it's mine and I still hate it? I genuinely don't know how to be without her. Our entire lives are interwoven. Some days I want to go back to the blissful ignorance I was living in. The DNA report takes a week, I believe. It's been 3 days. My sister, she visits Anna regularly. I'm angry about that too, because she's only visited me twice. Says that my wife just looks at our wedding photos and cries. We have a whole junkyard collection worth of pictures and memories. She begged me to go see her once. I'm clueless of how to proceed. It would have been so much easier if she had been a horrible woman for the 2 months that I could begin to look back and hate, but I can't. Life had been as normal and sweet as ever. I don't even have a bad memory of her I can use to hate her. Our last big fight before this, I can't even remember. I'm going to see her and my boys tomorrow. I think I'll ask for DNA tests on them too. I know they're mine, but you never know. Maybe I'll find something and just upset myself more, but that feels so unfair to the boys. Just how do I make sense of this? Edit. I called her. She was crying again, but agreed to meet with me. I told her I was going with divorce one way or another, but whether we can ever reconcile a few years later or not fully depends on her honesty. She was crying and her voice sounded rough, but after a while, she said she will tell me everything. So she does know why she did it. But for some reason, she asked me to bring my sister along. My sister hadn't said anything either. I'm only praying my sister doesn't turn out to be an accomplice or something. She didn't beg for my forgiveness or say, "Think about our kids," after I told her how manipulative she's sounding. She seemed genuinely shocked to realize how she was holding me hostage with her threats. Does that mean something deeper? Are they actions of someone who has remorse? Am I the jerk for saying to my sister, our jobs aren't the same? Last night, my sister and I went to a dinner party to catch up with friends. We went to the same school together. My friends were her friends' younger siblings. Before lockdown happened, we hadn't seen each other for at least 2 years, and lockdown happened, so it's been 5 years since we all saw each other. A lot has changed. Many of us have graduated and have full-time jobs. Many have gone on to start a PhD and so on. My sister works at a high school as an English teacher, whereas I work at a university as a university research lecturer. My sister spends 80% of her working hours teaching. The other 20% of her time is spent marking and doing admin. During dinner, a friend of hers asked me what I was up to now. Before I got the chance to answer, my sister butted in, saying she's got the same job as me. She teaches. At this point, I said no, we don't have the same job. I corrected the fact she works as a teacher at a secondary school. I work at a university, and I only spend 10 hours a week teaching. The rest is spent researching my field of work, coming up with new project proposals, publishing, and much more. I do admit that I have an attitude problem, but I don't know why. Most of the time, anything I say comes out in a rude tone, even though I don't mean to. I immediately apologize for giving a rude attitude, as it genuinely wasn't meant to happen. However, I didn't apologize for correcting my sister. We had dinner and went home. I noticed my sister was in a mood whilst dropping her off back at her place. This morning, I woke up to a message from my sister, which was a paragraph calling me a jerk for looking down upon her job and for being rude. I sent a message back saying, I knew my attitude came off as rude, but I apologized for it straight away when I noticed. I said I don't look down on you because you're a teacher. I won't apologize for correcting you and saying our jobs are different. You are a teacher, and most of your hours are spent teaching. The rest is spent marking and doing admin tasks. Mine is spent teaching, marking, doing admin, creating research proposals, helping in projects, publishing, and much more. She's still mad at me. Was I in the wrong? Sounds like both of you have chips on your shoulder. Yes, she was wrong, but not grotesquely so. And yes, I was also a university lecturer, 10% teaching, 90% research, etc. Everyone sucks here. Everyone sucks here. You for being rude, her for trivializing your job, but claiming you were doing that about her job. Her job is primarily teaching. Your job includes teaching, but primarily other stuff. It's not like you do all the same work she does, plus more. You do the same type of work she does, but only for a small amount of time, while the other time is spent on other things. So there is a big difference there. It's like comparing a chef to a homemaker. A homemaker does some cooking, but other things as well. Both are important jobs, but in different ways. My parents refused to let me have my own bedroom, even though we have extra rooms. Me, 14, female, and my twin sister, Kate, and our parents, who are in their 40s, live in a 4-bedroom house. My parents have the master bedroom. The second room is a guest room. Dad uses the third room as an office, and my sister and I share the other room. The 3 regular bedrooms are small. Dad works from home 2 days a week, and we have guests maybe 10 days a year. I'm very outgoing. I like having people over, and Kate's an introvert who wants to watch her old TV shows and talk to her friends on Discord. She likes order, and I like putting my clothes on the chair without being yelled at. We've been asking to have our own room since we were 9, and my parents are refusing to move us because we don't have enough space for everybody's needs. Lockdown was awful. Kate and I fought all the time, and our parents yelled at her when she moved her stuff to the guest room because Mom has her craft stuff in the closet, and what if Grandma had to stay with us for a while? I love my sister, but this is making me like her less, and sometimes I think she barely tolerates me because we're always in each other's space. We barely fit in here anymore. The closet is too small for our clothes. Kate's books are in stacks on the floor. I can't listen to music in peace, and my friends ask why we are sleeping on bunk beds in a 4-bedroom house. Yesterday, I was looking for my hair curler and caused a book avalanche that knocked the USS Enterprise, whatever, off the desk. Kate was screaming. I was screaming, and she asked for the 1,000th time to combine the guest room and office so she can take the other room. Dad said he absolutely needs an office. I said I absolutely need a closet, and it doesn't make sense to have all this space and put both kids in a single room. Mom said we're not entitled to a bedroom each, and there are millions of kids who share a room, and if we wanted more space, we should get rid of some stuff and stop living like hoarders. Like, we're sorry for being two separate people with 2 people's worth of belongings that you bought for us. I asked who is entitled to a room that's empty 346 days per year, or an office that's used 2 days a week, and why I'm the unreasonable one for wanting some space. After that, we were yelling in circles, and Kate took her laptop and locked herself in the guest room. Dad asked what does she think she's doing, and she said, Googling nursing homes with bunk beds, which helped not at all. So, are we the jerks? Today, my aunt and grandma visited and called us ungrateful for everything we have and were disappointed in us. I don't believe I'm a jerk because I'm just asking to use the space we already have, but at the end of the day, it's my parents' house, not mine. Kate and I wouldn't be angry if we lived in a 2-bedroom house, but 4 bedrooms? One room just sitting there being a waste of square feet and taxes? And we have to share? I'm gonna go with not the jerk. Your parents are putting the possibility of needing a whole room for a guest once or twice a year over the very real needs of their daughters who live there 365 days a year. Also, your sister saying she's Googling nursing homes with bunk beds is hilarious. Not the jerk. I do think a dedicated guest room and a dedicated office is a ridiculous waste when the family harmony would be drastically improved by separating the kids. My office is moving to the dining room because I can no longer use my daughter's closet as an office. She needs privacy and personal space. Not the jerk. You have the space. It sounds like your parents only wanted 1 kid and getting twins was an inconvenience to their room plans, so they just did it anyway. While you have guests, you can share the room for the few days a year and then both have your own room again. I'm going with no jerks here. You want your privacy, but your parents also have the right to decide who lives where in their own home. I do think a good solution would be for one of you to take the guest room and simply share the other bedroom when guests are there. Also, your mom said something about grandma maybe having to stay with you. In that case, the 2 of you would go back to sharing. Everything is in the approach. Don't whine or get upset. Prove you're growing up by mentioning these ideas and asking what they think. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her parents? Please let us know. Don't quote me here, but I think the dad had a post on Reddit too about the same story. Let's check it out. Am I the jerk for not giving up my home office so my daughter can have her own room? I, 49 male, am the breadwinner of my family. My job requires me to be available at all hours of the day in case of an emergency. My wife, 47 female, has been a stay-at-home mom since our oldest, B, who's 16, female, was born. We have 3 kids, B, who's 16, our daughter, P, who's 15, our other daughter, and C, who's 14, our son. B and P share a bedroom and have since C was born. When my wife and I bought our house, it had an upstairs master and a first-floor master, which we converted into my office. B's birthday was Friday, and she's been asking for her bedroom. B has been begging that we convert the office into her own room so she doesn't have to share a room with her sister and a bathroom with her siblings. My wife has been trying to convince me by saying that we can move my desk to our bedroom since I barely use it. I've been telling her I need the office in case of an emergency, and I want to keep my work separate from the spaces I relax in. B got very upset by this and said I'm denying her privacy and space of her own. I pointed out she does have her own space on her side of the bedroom. I also pointed out that she will be sharing a dorm with someone when she goes to college, so she will have lots of practice. B got very upset by this and said some classic teenager things like I'm ruining her life and she hates me. B also said it's unfair C has his own room. I asked B if she would like to share a room with C instead, and she said no. My wife thinks I'm being selfish and that B and P are growing up and deserve to have their own spaces. My wife keeps telling me I'm being unfair and acting like a jerk. I pointed out she doesn't have a job and doesn't know how important it is I have an office space. I don't think I'm being a jerk, but my wife and daughters insist that I am. My mother agrees with me that I need my own space to work. Am I the jerk? Clarifications. My office was converted to a first-floor master by the previous owners of the house. It was originally a dining room. The room is a similar size to B and P's current bedroom, but a little smaller due to the bathroom. My daughters have a blackout curtain that covers their beds and desks that my wife made when the girls hit middle school. I use the office around 20 to 30 hours a month. I handle legal documents that need to be kept behind a locked door. We don't have a basement. We have an attic, but the only way to access it is through a drop-down ladder in the hallway. Yes, I did ask my mother for her outlook on the situation. My mom doesn't have any input on my relationship or life, but I do occasionally ask her for advice or her opinion on matters. My wife asks her mom for advice all the time, and I have no problem with that. You're the jerk, and your wife thinks you're being selfish. She's correct. Honestly, I feel like you're the jerk just for being an almost 50-year-old man and involving your mommy in this. But really, you barely use the space. Your daughter would use it every day. This is a no-brainer. You're the jerk. He edited out the part about his mommy. I think you're the jerk here for a few reasons. Firstly, keeping an entire room you rarely use just on the off chance you need to take a call is a genuine waste of space. If you needed to use the office all the time during work hours, it would be a different story, but that's not the case. Secondly, on that note, not wanting to have a desk you rarely use in your room on the off chance you need to have some privacy during a work emergency because you want to keep your workspace separate, that's a bit rich when you're asking about your two teenage, almost adult daughters to share their space 100% of the time. It's a huge double standard. Thirdly, I assume that your two youngest aren't sharing because they're different genders. It's pretty standard for the oldest to get first dibs on a room of their own. So if you can get past the weird gender segregation, maybe P and C could share for a while. It's a raw deal for P, but if C has never shared, he'll be totally unprepared for college, according to your logic anyway. B has had ample practice. Edit. Please note, last point is largely sarcastic. None of them should be sharing a room. If there's space available, it's inappropriate for any two teenagers to be sharing, regardless of gender. And I don't think even OP buys his BS comment about sharing being good practice for sharing a dorm in college. You're the jerk. 20 to 30 hours a month is 5 to 7 hours a week. You're not only denying your oldest kid some privacy, you're using poor excuses to go along with it. You pointed out that she doesn't have a job and doesn't know how important it is that you have an office space? Oh, get a grip. I work from home 2 to 3 days a week doing engineering support on a computer desk in a breakfast nook. I'm also on call for half of all evenings and weekends, splitting with another engineer. You can keep your precious files locked up in a closet and a working desk somewhere else. You want to keep your workspace separate from the space you relax in? Man has an excuse for everything. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or is everyone else? Please let us know. Reddit, home of the most first world problems you'll find anywhere. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.